A special thanks this week to Rav Jake Wiedemlansky. This week's parsha, Vayakhel-Pekudei, concludes our 4 to 5 parsha segment describing at length, in tremendous amount of detail, the building of the Mishkan. Of course, interrupted by Chet Egel. But really the primary focus here is our relationship with Hashem through the Mishkan. And the parsha begins after the first pasuk of Vayakhel, Sheishes Yamim, the first thing Moshe tells them, Sheishes Yamim ta'aseh melacha. 6 days you should do melacha. Rashi says, what does this come to teach us? That the building of the Mishkan does not precede Shabbos. That 6 days you can work on the Mishkan, but not the 7th day. Shabbos you must keep. But then it goes on to pasuk Gimel, Lo teva'aru eish b'chol moshvoseichem. You should not burn a fire in your dwellings, moshvoseichem. It makes sense. We understand why pasuk Beis, Sheishes Yamim ta'aseh melacha, but not on the 7th day. Why we take a break in discussing the Mishkan to talk about how Shabbos fits into the building of the Mishkan. But what about the continuation? The continuation going to Lo tavaru eish b'chol moshvoseichem. Why specifically single out the fire? What place does that have here? The Ramban explains that since the first pasuk says Kol ha'oseh bo malacha, whoever does malacha on Shabbos, yumat, it doesn't say Kol malacha, it says Kol ha'oseh bo malacha, whoever does malacha, but it doesn't say whoever does all the malachos. I would have thought that just like on Yantif, I'm allowed to cook, Ochel nefesh is mutter, so too on Shabbos it's mutter. Therefore, the pasuk has to go back and say, L'chein yizkir b'feirush de aser. What's aser? Eish. Because eish, fire, is usually used to bake. Because fire is usually what you need for cooking. Thus says the Ramban. That's why we single out fire. That's why it is still part and parcel of the previous pasuk. Rabbeinu Bechaya has a different take. Rabbeinu Bechaya says, "B'tchila amar kol ha'oseh malacha yumat." Therefore, and that's the kavana to meleches mishkan. Whoever does a malacha on the Mishkan will die. Whoever breaks the Shabbos, because again, the building of the Mishkan does not precede Shabbos. V'kilal kol ha'malachos be'esh. Therefore, it goes over. It says lo tavaru eish, talking about all the malachos. Why? Because rov ha'malachos al yedei ha'esh. Because most malachos are done through fire. Ki eish sibatam v'ikaram, says the Rabbeinu Bechaya. It is its source. L'chein tiknu razal havdalah b'motzei Shabbos. That's why when Shabbos ends, we make havdalah on fire. We say borim me'orei ha'esh, because that is the time when malachos are finally allowed to us, and that's why it continued on the subject of Shabbos and singled out fire. However, this answer doesn't suffice for me. Obviously, it's the Ramban and the Rabbeinu Bechaya. I don't stand in their place, but as Rav Goldvich points out, there is more than one case where eish, or fire, cuts in between the parshos of the Mishkan. For example, Tetzaveh starts off with the shemen, with the oil. Why does it specifically bring in the dinim of hadlakas menorah? Why not just save that for Parshas Vayikra, which is where all the halachos of the Kohen, where all the avodos are mentioned? Why specifically point out one avoda? Why not the Ketores? Why not the Korbanos? Why are we specifically mentioning and stopping over and over again, like we have in this week's parsha, like we have in Tetzaveh, the fire? I'll take it a step further. The Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos, Mitzvah Kaf, he says, Shetzivanu, livnot beita bechira. We have a commandment to build the Beis HaMikdash, la'avoda, for serving Hashem. Bo yeh ha'akrava, there we will be doing the korbanos, v'hav'aras ha'esh tamid, and the fire should burn continually. Again, the Rambam singles out the fire. That is one prat, that is one aspect of the avodas. Ve'elav tiyeh halicha, v'haliyah l'regal, we should go to it, v'hakibutz b'chol shana. Obviously, the fire has some sort of inherent essence into what it is, what the Mishkan is. V'chizkuni says, B'chol moshvoseichem, aval b'mikdash mutar lasos. You're allowed to burn fire in the mikdash. Not in the building of the Mishkan, but in the mikdash itself. Eish tamid, that's allowed on Shabbos. What is this essence of fire when it comes to the Mishkan? That's question number one. Question number two. Why do we spend 4 parshios or 5 parshios dealing with the Mishkan? When you go on a camping trip, you're not so worried about your accommodations. You take a tent, you take a sleeping bag, maybe you blow up your mattress, and that's it. You take some food for the way, and that's it. How long was Am Yisrael supposed to be in the Midbar for? They were supposed to be there for maybe 2 months. Had not Cheta Egel and Cheta Meraglim occurred, okay, the trip was extended to 40 years. But this was an Ohel Arai. This was not a permanent dwelling. The Beis HaMikdash, a house. You bring in the engineers, you get the zoning permits, you look into it, you bring in the architects, you plan it all out. It could take years because you're planning on living in it for years. Why is it? This is the question of the Akedas Yitzchak. Why is it that we spend 4 parshios reiterating? We have 2 parshios giving us the commandment, and 2 parshios talking about how we fulfilled the commandments, dealing with a Mishkan that was supposed to last for 2 months. And yet, when it comes to the Beis HaMikdash, we hear very little about it. David, who comes up with the plans on his own, hands them off to Shlomo, and Shlomo executes. That's it. That's all we have to say in Divrei Hayamim. Where's the fanfare? Where are all the words? It should have been the other way around. Second question about the Akedas Yitzchak is a very powerful one. When we enter Eretz Yisrael, we have 3 commandments. Appoint a king, then that king shall go and destroy Amalek, and shall build the Beis HaMikdash. So Shaul HaMelech became the first king, and Shmuel HaNavi tells him go destroy Amalek, and he succeeds to a degree. And yet, Natan HaNavi doesn't tell David any such thing about building the Beis HaMikdash. David has to come up with the idea on his own. He turns to Natan HaNavi, he turns to Hashem, and he says, Hashem, I have such a beautiful palace. You don't have a palace, you're living in a wooden shack. I want to build you a palace. And Hashem says, no, I don't need it. In the Midbar, the oil sufficed. Why do I need a house? Apele, we have a commandment. Why is Hashem's not sending his Navi to command him to build it, and he's refusing. He's not accepting David's generous offer. These are our questions. What is the special essence of the fire when it comes to the Mishkan? Why do we spend so many parshios on the Mishkan and not on the Beis HaMikdash? And why does Hashem refuse David's offer to build him a Beis HaMikdash? Originally, when we're commanded to build the Mishkan, Vasu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, Hashem describes how we're going to build the Mishkan. V'et hamishkan ta'aseh, you shall build a Mishkan, eser yerios. 10 tapestries. This is going to be the covering, the first of 4 coverings over the Mishkan, the roof. Then, later in Truma, Vasita et hakrashim, you shall make the stands, the dapim, says Onkelos, the boards, la Mishkan, for the Mishkan. It should have said ba Mishkan, in the Mishkan, as part of the Mishkan. La Mishkan implies that the crushing were separate from the Mishkan, that the Mishkan was just the Yerios. In our parsha, we say, "V'kol chacham leiv bachem yavo v'yasu et kol asher tziva Hashem." Moshe calls out to all the chachmei leiv, to Betzalel and to Oholiab and all the chachmei leiv, all the people who had certain craftsmanship skills. V'yasu et kol asher tziva Hashem et hamishkan, the Mishkan, et ohalo, which is its ohel, its covering, its roof, and in addition to the Mishkan, the Ohel, Michsehu, Vet Krashav, Vet Adanav, Vet Amudav, everything else. Rashi says, isn't everything a Mishkan? Isn't the whole thing the Mishkan? Why are we singling out the Yerios over and over and over again? Rashi says, Yerios hatachtonos haniros betocho, the bottom tapestries, the bottom cover, the one that we could see when we walk in, Kruim Mishkan, are the Mishkan. The Sforno says it even clearer. Kara hayarios b'shem Mishkan. Why? Ki b'tocham hayu kisei shulchan menorah lemishkan shchina. It contained everything. The ikr of the Mishkan, what is called the Mishkan, was just that one cover, that first cover that nobody saw from up top, but only if you entered and you looked up, that was the Mishkan. Not its side walls that supported it, like we say in Pekudei, at the end of this week's parsha, Vahi b'chodesh harishon b'shana hashanit be'echad l'chodesh hukam hamishkan. The Mishkan was erected. How was it erected? Vayakam Moshe et hamishkan. He set up the Mishkan. Pause. And va yitein et adanav vayasem et krashav. Again, a separation between what the Mishkan was and everything else. First the Mishkan, says the Sforno, and then the krashim. First the roof and no beams. Says the Sforno, Eser hayarios hukmu kodem hakamas hakrashim. First the roof was put up. How did it stand? How was it held up? Im bidei adam machzikin bo. People stood watching and held it up like a chuppah. V'im al derech nes. Or was a miracle. Ki omnam otan es yarios hein hayu ikr binyan hamishkan v'sha'ar, and the rest hanichnas be'oto binyan v'gomer hayu laha'amid hamishkan v'lichsoto. The rest was support. The ikr were the yarios. That is what is referred to as the Mishkan over and over again in our parshios. What were these yarios? Again, back in Truma, sheish mazar, weaved linen, v'tcheles, v'argaman, v'tolat shani, kiruvim, ma'aseh choshev, and there will be kruvim that are woven into the fabric, says Rashi. They're not sewn on afterwards. It's not like a patch that you sew on. It was woven into the tapestries. Kruvim. Kruvim reminds us of what? Gan Eden, the kruvim that were outside guarding Gan Eden when Adam was banished. Kruvim reminds us of the kaporet, of the Aron HaKodesh, of the Kodesh Kadashim, where Hashem talked to us. What are the kruvim? Says Rashi, Ari mitzad zeh, a lion on one side, v'nesher mitzad zeh, and an eagle on the other. What is this referring to? The Gemara in Chagiga says, Yud Gimel Mabez says, we say in Parshas Beshalach in Az Yashir, Ashira Lashem ki ga'o ga'a. Hashem is above pride. Shiru lami shemitga'eh al hagim. The person who's at the top, the being that is Hashem, who is on top of everything, on top of all those who are proud, on top of the food chain. Melech shebachayot Ari. The king of the wild animals is a lion. Melech sheba behemot. The king of the tamed animals, the cattle, the livestock, is a shore, is an ox. Melech sheba ofot nesher, king of the fowl, is the eagle. Ve'adam mitga'el lehem, and man is at the top of that food chain, and God is on top of man. Ve'akadosh baruch hu mitga'el kulam ve'al olam kulo. We have a lion, we have an eagle sewn into the tapestry, we have the kruvim, which exists also in the Aron Kodesh, but we'll get to that in a second. And we have the shore, which is missing, and of course man, who's entering into the Kodesh Kodashim, who's entering into the Ohel Moed, who's entering into the Mishkan, or under the Mishkan, as we've learned. This is a reference to the Maser Merkava of Yechezkel. The Merkava, the chariot of Hashem, the mystical executioner, the one who executes God's will in this world. What does it look like? What were its wheels? Says Yechezkel in Perak Aleph, V'demut pneihem pnei Adam, upnei Aryeh, upnei Shor, upnei Nesher. Says the Gemara, he describes it a second time in Perak Yud, Pnei Kruv, Adam, Aryeh, Nesher. He switches out the shore for a kruv, for the face of a baby. Why? Says the Gemara, because the shore reminds us of Chet Egel, ve'ein kategor nasa sanagor. A plaintiff can't become a defendant. A prosecutor can't become the defendant. So Bikesh Rachamim, and Hashem answered with mercy, rid himself of the shore of the ox and replaced it with a baby's face. When an Adam Hamitgal Kulam enters into the Ohel Moed and he looks up and he sees the lion and he sees the eagle, what is he reminded of? He's reminded of their Merkava. The Mishkan is supposed to remind us and light up in us, tidluk, the concept of v'asu li mishkan v'shachanti b'tocham. Doesn't say b'tocho, b'tocham, b'chol echad v'chad v'hem, as the Midrash says. Kadosh Baruch Hu's initial intention was not to build this makom, this place, where we can find Hashem's Shekhinah. Hashem is in each and every one of us, as He is today, in our neshamos, around this world, of course. We go into that Mishkan, and we look up, and we see the Mishkan, and we're reminded of the Merkava, and we say, how can I be Hashem's Merkava? How can I execute Hashem's will? The essence is not the place. The goal is not the place. It's not the physical location. It's what do we take home with us, and what do we teach our kids? What do we teach the next generation? That's what the Kruvim are there for. That's what the Panei Tinok is there for. We look up. Man looks up. He sees a lion. He sees the eagle. And he thinks about the future. And he thinks, how can I bring this into myself? It was for inspiration. Divine inspiration was what the Mishkan was there for and built for. To create that fire, to light up the flame in front of us. To remind us that there's a Melech above all these things. Above us. Always. The goal of the Mishkan was not to create a beautiful Instagram gallery of photos. It was to bring something home with us, something tangible, to create something within us. V'hitalachti imachem. Yechezkel ends with his final vision of what the third Beis HaMikdash is going to be like, the Beis HaMikdash that Hashem is going to build. After we've gone through Tahara, after Milchemes Gog Magog, after we've come back to Him. Because the first Beis HaMikdash and the second Beis HaMikdash, that wasn't what Hashem wanted. Hashem wanted that when we built the Mishkan and we built the Mikdash, we knew what we were building it for. We knew the purpose that it served, to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, day in, day out, ourselves. The Mishkan, we messed up. Chita Meraglim, we ruined it. The Bayit HaRishon, the first Beis HaMikdash, it lasted for 410 years. But you know in the decree, when God decided when He was going to destroy the Mishkan, it was that night. When Shlomo married Bas Paro, and they brought in, says the Midrash, they brought in 1,000 different types of klei zemer, of instruments, and they played a song, and as they played a beautiful song, and everybody was in awe and inspired and dancing and singing and laughing, Bat Paro turned to Shlomo and said, this is the song that they used to play for Avodah Zarah. This is the song of Avodah Zarah, the Lo Michaba. And Shlomo didn't say anything. He didn't stop them from playing. At that moment, Hashem decided, I'm going to destroy this Beis HaMikdash. I'm going to destroy this house. This house is not for me. What happened? He sent his malach, he sent Gavriel down. Na'atzkane bayam hatichon. Gavriel went into the Mediterranean, threw down his sword into the middle, and thus emerged Greece and Rome, the destroyers of our Batei Mikdash. This is the importance of the prate pratim, of going in detail over and over, parsha after parsha, again, to tell us about the Mishkan, the pratim. What is this supposed to lead towards? What is the Mishkan? V'shachanti b'tocham, v'hitalachti b'tocham, and to light that fire within us. Why fire? Says the Rambam, because man is created from 4 elements, from earth, wind, fire, and water, and fire is the source of all of those, is the strongest of all of those, is the most important element of all of those. Why? Because without fire we have nothing. With too much fire we're burnt. We have nothing. With no motivation, with no ambition, with too much zealousy, lots of problems are caused. We don't go anywhere, or we push ourselves into corners, like we see with Nadav and Avihu. We have inside of us a fire that's ready to emerge, and Hashem's trying to stoke those coals, day in, day out, whether or not we have the Mishkan. Rav Jake points out in Tetzaveh, Shemen Zayit Zach Katit Lamaor. It has to be Katit Lamaor. Katit Lamaor Lahalot Ner Tamid. Katit is Kaf, Tuf, 420 and 410. 410, first Beis HaMikdash. 420, second Beis HaMikdash. Destroyed. Lahalos Ner Tamid. But that third Beis HaMikdash, when we come to Hashem, when we've gone to that point of being metar ourselves with Lev Chadash and Ruach Chadash and Gogu Magog and Tchias HaMeisim, Hatichiana Hatzamos Ha'ele, then Lahalot Ner Tamid, it will be an eternal Beis HaMikdash, we will be the Merkava. When we reach that point, we will have, Hashem will build us the Beis HaMikdash. Hashem says, I will not enter Yushalayim Shel Mala until I enter Yushalayim Shel Mata. We are Yushalayim Shel Mata. That is our goal. L'halo ner tamid. Lo tavaru eish b'chol moshvoseichem. This is what the fire is supposed to inspire in us to get to that point of the Merkava. Rabbi Baruch Simon points out the Zohar Kadosh says, Lo tavaru eish b'chol moshvoseichem. He takes a little bit of a different approach. Lo tavaru eish, that the eish, the fire of Gehenna, doesn't burn on Shabbos. On Shabbos we have special protection. That's why in Mariv, Friday night davening, when we finish up Hashkivenu, we don't say Hashomer Amol Yisrael La'ad, because we don't need Shmira, we don't need protection. We say Hapores Sukat Shalom Aleinu. There is Shlemus, there is Shalom, there is peace, there is tranquility on Shabbos. And therefore, says the Tikkun Zohar in the Shla, we should not burn the fires of our Kas and our Machlokes. Why specifically Shabbos? Why specifically on Shabbos are we not supposed to burn that fire? We're never supposed to get angry. But Shabbos, we know that when someone gets upset, Gemara says it's like you're over to Avodah Zarah. Why are we so harsh on somebody who gets upset? Because when you get angry, it's a choser of emunah. Hashem put this in front of me. Hashem put minios in front of me. Hashem put stumbling blocks in front of me. Hashem put preventions in front of me. You're not doing what I expected you to do. And we're saying, and we're reacting negatively to this. We're not trusting in Hashem. And on Shabbos, the day of Emunah, when there's no hester, when we're free of the distractions, and we get angry, that's an extra affront to Hashem. The day of Emunah, where we get kas, we don't have that Emunah. It's like Odav Avodah Zarah. The Chidah gives a different answer. Why specifically Shabbos? In Aveira, this is very much going back to the Nefesh HaChaim. An Aveira doesn't just impact me in this world, it impacts the world above, where an Neshama comes from, where an Neshama returns to every night. And the Arizal says on Shabbos we're connected to all the Olamos. And therefore when we do an Aveira, it's tenfold, or fourfold, or sevenfold. We are impacting negatively all the Olamos. That's a huge affront. Lo tiva'aru eish b'chol moshvoseichem. Not in any of those worlds. Get rid of that. Don't bring up the fires of Gehenna. How are we supposed to use the fire? How are we supposed to tame that fire? How are we supposed to maintain it and not go overboard with it? On Shabbos, says Reb Simon, this is an especially troubling time because everybody's gathering together at Shul and at the Beis HaMidrash, and disagreements are bound to come up. The Be'er Heitev in Orach Chaim, in Siman Shin Zayin, Seif Beis, he says in the name of the Shla, on Shabbos you're not supposed to say good morning when you see someone, or good day, or good afternoon. You say Shabbat Shalom. He says, because, why? To be Mekayim Zachor Yom HaShabbos. But Rav Yudin says more than that, based on what the Shla himself said about avoiding Machlokes, Shabbat Shalom, of peace, of tranquility, to remind us not to separate, but Vayakhel. Like Esther said to Mordechai, bring me knosli kol hayudim, a time of achdus. That's what the Mishkan was about, of bringing us back together after Chet Egel, to that point of Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged har, of achdus, of coming together. The Mishkan was keneged Bereshis, was Masa Bereshis. There are parallels. The Midrash says that the world was created b'chochma, b'tvuna, uvedas. Betzalel was filled with chochma, tvuna, and das. The end of our parsha, when Am Yisrael brings the Mishkan to Moshe, it says Vayar Moshe et kol hamalacha. Says it on Chuma. It doesn't say kol malachas Mishkan, but kol hamalacha, referring to Masa Bereshis. He saw that there was a tikkun back from the Chet of Adam Harishon, where Hashem was sent back up to Shemayim, and he couldn't live in this world. Finally, Hashem was brought back into this world. Every day we have an opportunity to renew our world. Hamechadesh tuva b'chol yom tamid. Yotzer or uvarei choshech. Every day we have an opportunity to use that fire, to hold on to that fire, to tame it, to light it up, and to hold on to it. As Rabbi Sachs says, religion is not what the European Enlightenment thought it would become, mute, marginal, and mild. It is fire, and like fire, it warms, but it also burns. And we are the guardians of the flame. That we should live at least one Shabbos of Shalom, Bein Adam L'Chavero, that we should learn and try to control our efforts for a minute a day to become the Merkava of Hashem, so that Hashem will ultimately build us our Mishkan and bring Mashiach B'mheri Amenu. Amen. Shabbos.